So now that the mystery of how this goes back together has been solved, partly by the fact that I was able to go back and look at my previous video of disassembly, and then also I found on this page of one of the manuals, I found this nice little diagram right here that has a pretty good exploded cutaway view here of how this is all going together. So what I realized was that my mistake I made was that I had this thrust washer, which does have the beveled side facing up. I had this going in underneath the bottoms of these weights because I saw this beveled edge here, and I thought that the beveled edge would ride, would have something to do with the beveled edge of the washer. But the truth of the matter is that the weights do go in this way, but that the washer actually sits above in this groove like this. So in other words, this part of the sleeve right here is actually in direct contact with the thrust washer. So what happens is, as the weights move out, the thrust washer gets lifted up and pushes against the sleeve, which pushes the sleeve up. So put this all together now like this. And give you the quick dip, make sure they're lubed up again. Of course, this time I'm going to make sure I have all 6 in there. Don't want to make the mistake of leaving one out like I did before. Okay, so now we're going to get the beveled washer in. A little bit of finagling. There we go. Okay, so I did that right. Yeah. So now the washer is in a position that'll, let's see, that'll come up. And now we put this in carefully. If I did this right, yeah. So now you'll see when I pull these weights apart, simulating the centrifugal force throwing them outward, you'll see that now that sleeve comes up like it's supposed to. So this is the way it's supposed to go together. So finally, I can put that together. I also found out something interesting about the housings on these. You see this this boss that kind of sticks out on this bottom of this body. It's clearly one piece, but apparently on, I'm going to assume maybe earlier pump designs, this was a separate plate that actually came off, and there were actually a couple of O-rings in there that you could replace. And I could see where if this plate was removable completely and you had a much larger area that was open here, that would make it easier to align that cam ring. I'm assuming maybe that's why they had it that way. So I don't know if this is an earlier one or a later one, but this plate does not come off on this one. So just thought I'd mention it in case people were wondering why I wasn't taking that off, because on this one it doesn't come off. So now it's been a couple of tries that I've been taking this on and off that O-ring, so I'm going to re-grease that O-ring. So I just finished greasing the O-ring. I just used one of these acid brushes and a light grease, and that's just to help with the ease in the reassembly so that I don't run the risk of damaging, pinching the O-ring during reassembly. So now, same trick I've been doing right along, which is let's find that large hole and line up the cam ring in close proximity to where it should be. And now we'll lower this down on top. There we go. I'm going to do the same, just slight twist, downward pressure. And I think I've got it. Should do it. And now I can just get that cam ring perfectly aligned. Okay. Alright. And now I'm going to reinstall the drive shaft just temporarily, as I had spoke about earlier, to make sure that that is keep things from flopping around in there. That's that. Alright. I think I'm going to want to install this bolt to keep the cam ring in position. Okay, the two bolts that go in on the bottom over here are the larger head locking bolt, which the original one had this little O-ring on it, and then the this little bolt here that helps keep the cam ring located in the correct position, which has a copper crush washer on it. So I'm going to take a look in my kit and see if I have those. The other thing I'm doing from time to time is I'm consulting my parts manual that I have that came with the tractor. Now this is for a DBGFC 627 3BH or 2BH or 4BH or 1BH or 5BH. Not for the -1ED, which I have, but it's very close. It's the closest one I've come to yet, with a few little changes. For instance, I'm not sure if this is focusing correctly, but you can see there's that removable plate I was talking about that doesn't exist on my pump, and there are those O-rings that would keep that plate sealed to the body, but none of that exists on my pump. However, you can see the head locating bolt and the other bolt that I was just talking about right here, and you can see the two, there's a washer and there's an O-ring there. So that confirms, as far as I'm concerned, that confirms to me that there's a washer on the one for the cam ring and an O-ring on the one for the head locking. Alright, inside the kit there are several little sub packages. So here's an envelope. Alright, I recognize that's clearly to cover the timing axis little door. So might be in here. What else we got? There's this one here. Well, that's clearly the umbrella seals, that we've heard mentioned. There's some nice plastic caps to close off the openings after we finish with the pump. Well, there's a possibility right there. Ah, there's a crush. Look at that one right there, that copper crush washer. That looks like that one right there. Betcha that's it. What do we got here? On this side, we've got this lovely little envelope. Huh, some interesting stuff in there. There's crush washers in there that look like they're for attaching the tubes onto the end of the head there. I wonder what this big plug is right here. It's weird. Alright. Get to that later. What's on the other side here in the kit? Some big stuff. I wonder what that is. Contains one cleansing towel. Isn't that nice? Ah, here's the infamous dampening ring or disc, the replacement one that comes in the kit. If you have the style that has disintegrated and you need to replace it, you can replace it with this, or you can upgrade to the solid governor weight assembly, which is what has already been done inside this pump. So this we're actually going to discard. Alright, that's an interesting... Oh, I know what that is. That's the gasket that goes in the groove on the cover, I bet. This top cover. So keep that in there for now. That's all that's in there. I'm not going to worry about the cleansing towel right now. I guess I'll open this kit up here and see if we can't find the O-ring that goes on this head locking bolt. But anyways, I've got this crush washer on now, and this is the bolt that's going to go into the cam ring. There we go. Now, of course, the trick with crush washers is that once you tighten them, they crush, and that's what makes the seal. So you don't want to loosen it up and redo it later, because it kind of eliminates the whole idea behind the crush washer. So I'm just going to hand tighten that for the moment, and let me get a torque value on that. Now, I got two charts here that are very similar. This one's saying 45 to 50, this one's saying 75 to 100. See if I can't find some literature that will break the tie.